to the rule sol fa sol. X 21. 22, 23 It was a horrendous act for an enemy to rip up or split open a pregnant woman. Ho 13. 16. Am 1. 13. 2 Chi 8. 12. 15. 16. Pregnancy would include pain at its termination PS 48. 6. 1 Th 5. 3. But that temporary grief would end with the birth of the child, and so pregnancy would normally come to a happy and satisfying conclusion. Joe 16. 21, 22. Woe to the pregnant women. When responding to the apostles' question about the conclusion of the system of things, Jesus spoke about fleeing from Judea and said, Woe to the pregnant women and those suckling a baby in those days. Mount 24. 19. Mr. 13. 17. Lu 21. 23 The fulfillment and truthfulness of those words became apparent in the events prior to and during the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Though reasonable activity and movement is usually possible for a woman during her pregnancy. Lu 1. 39, 56. 2. 5. Extended flight on foot over mountainous country would be hard on her, and especially if her time for delivery was close. Extreme adversity befell pregnant women and those suckling babies when Roman forces laid siege to Jerusalem. Famine prevailed. During pregnancy it is important for a woman to have proper nourishment. If, for example, she does not get sufficient calcium, she might lose her teeth, as the body takes calcium to form the bones of the developing baby. Furthermore, a woman's maternal protective instinct would increase her suffering as she saw infants starving and dying, all the while knowing that she would soon bring a child into such conditions. Josephus wrote about some starving men in besieged Jerusalem. There was no compassion for hoary hairs or infancy. Children were actually lifted up with the fragments to which they clung and dashed to the ground. The Jewish War, v. 433x, 3. Compare Lu 23. 29. Figurative use. The period of pregnancy culminating in the birth of a child is used several times in a figurative sense. Israel lost God's favor because her unfaithful people conceived trouble and brought to birth what is hurtful. Isra 59. 2-8. Compare PS 7. 14. The process began with their allowing hurtful thoughts and wrong desires to impregnate their minds and hearts and, in effect, incubate there, with the inevitable result that hurtful works came to birth. Compare Judges 1. 14, 15. Elsewhere Isaiah depicts Israel as a woman crying out in labor pains and saying to God, So we have become because of you, O Jehovah. We have become pregnant, we have had labor pains. As it were, we have given birth to wind. No real salvation do we accomplish as regards the land, and no inhabitants for the productive land proceed to full and birth come to life. J.P. Isra 26. 17, 18 This may refer to the fact that, despite God's blessings compare Isra 26. 15 and his having set before Israel the opportunity to become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation X 19. 6. Israel had not yet seen realized the long-awaited fulfillment of the promise regarding the seed through whom blessings would flow. GE 22. 15-18 Israel's own efforts at salvation had produced nothing, in reality. As a nation it could not bring about the otextoi acute miracle longo, preparation 676 Anguish of the pregnant heavenly woman preceding the birth calls to mind Paul's expression at Galatians 4. 19, childbirth pains there apparently representing stirring interest and fervent desire to see full development of matters reached in Paul's case, the full development of the Galatian believers as Christians. Preparation. A name applied to the day preceding the weekly Sabbath, during which the Jews prepared for the Sabbath. When Jehovah began to provide manna in the wilderness he directed that a double portion be collected on the sixth day, since the people were not to gather manna on the Sabbath, or seventh day. So, in preparation for the weekly Sabbath, the Jews collected and baked or boiled extra manna. Acts 16. 5, 22-27 In time the day before the Sabbath came to be termed preparation, as Mark explained. Mr. 15. 42 Somewhat similarly, In German Samstag Saturday is also called Sonnabend, literally, sun evening or evening before Sunday Sonntag. The Jewish preparation day would end at sundown of what is today called Friday, at which time the Sabbath would commence, the Jewish day running from evening to evening. On preparation the people prepared meals for the next day, the Sabbath, and completed any other pressing work that could not wait until after the Sabbath. X 20. 10. The law stipulated that the body of a man executed and hung on a stake should not stay all night on the stake. De 21. 22, 23. Compare Jaws 8. 29. 10. 26, 27. Since Jesus and those impaled with him were on stakes on the afternoon of preparation, it was important to the Jews that their deaths be hastened if necessary so that they could be buried before sunset. This was especially so since the day soon to begin at sundown was the regular Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, and also a Sabbath, because of being Nisan 15 the 23. 5-7, hence it was a great Sabbath.